The time is now 10:52 a.m. on Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. I call the Personnel Policy Committee meeting of the Lisle Library District Board of Trustees to order. Roll call, please.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Here.
Emily Swisbeck.
Here.
Tatiana Weinstein.
Here.
Beth McCullen.
Here.
Okay, second item on the agenda, opportunities for visitors to speak, general comment period. Seeing none, we will, and none online. We will move on to number 3, approve minutes of the March 8th, 2021 Personnel Policy Committee meeting. I have a motion.
A motion to approve the minutes of the March 8th, 2021 Personnel Policy Committee meeting.
Okay, since there's 2 of us, who seconds? Me? Second. Okay, discussion? Yes. On the top of the minutes, it says March 8th, 2020 was the last meeting, but it was 2021.
Good.
I don't know if anyone else saw any other issues.
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
so then do we need to do a new motion as amended, or we just vote on it?
You can just vote on it as amended.
Okay. So roll call vote as amended.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Emily Swisbeck.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Item number 4, trustee appointment procedures, documents, and scheduled draft/discussion. Okay, so we have the sample candidate questionnaire that was used in the past, correct, Director Weinstein?
Yes.
And then we had with it the trustee appointment procedures, policy 200. I did have a question about the green. Is the green new?
Oh, no. So,
Or that was just to draw attention to it?
yeah, it's just to draw attention to it. I put together this document just to lay out what the committee can move forward with. So I just pulled from policy 200
Okay,
the applicable article on vacancies, and then I just highlighted green, saying that all vacancies shall be filled by appointment by the remaining trustees and consistent with Illinois election law until the next regular library election. So
Okay.
we use this to move forward with the selection process and procedures.
okay, thank you. So what I wanted to talk about first is the candidate questionnaire. So what's available, what will be available on the website, and the questions that they would need to complete as part of the application. I don't want to talk about interview questions yet. I want to focus just on the questionnaire application thing first.
On the public document.
The public document, yes,
Right.
thank you. The one that will be posted, and the one that we can talk about freely because it's not anything that needs to be kept confidential until the interviews.
Right. So in the document, there are some numbered questions that trustees submitted
Mhm.
as Vice President Swisbeck mentioned. Some are more applicable for the interview questions and some would be used for the questionnaire that would be public. And so if you want to talk about any of these, I'd suggest talking about them by number.
Okay,
And if there's any wordsmithing, we can do that. But if there's any from 1 through 11 that look like you'd like to add to the questionnaire that would go on the website, we can go from there.
so can we first start with the one that we had, the first one, the one that looks like this, that we currently had, and talk about those questions, and then we can see if you want to wordsmith those first and then add some of the other ones. Does that work?
I have a question.
Yep.
You mentioned questions 1 through 11.
They're in the packet, page
Okay.
7 and 8.
Yeah, page 7 and 8. These are all the questions that were submitted by other trustees for consideration, whether they be in the interview or in.
Do you see them?
after that page.
No, because,
Yeah, they're.
thank you.
Yeah, I know, they're all together.
Yeah,
I was reading it originally as part of the policy too, and then,
okay.
but yeah. Okay, so if we look at, the original one, the first question, I think that one's fine, right? 2, how did you learn about the LLD board vacancy? I think that's fine.
Is that crucial? Is it that important? I mean, is there some, I'm not saying it
I know what
shouldn't be in here.
yeah.
It's just,
I think,
It informs I mean, it lets the person, it lets the the board know that whether they learned it via the website or via social
Okay,
media.
well, if
or-
it's for information, then I
Yeah, like I think it's just kind of, because if we're trying to put it out there,
got you.
to me, then it's kind of like, did they see it in an article in the newspaper, or did they see it, you know, on social media or word of mouth, or posted at the library or whatever?
Okay.
I think that's helpful. Number 3, please describe your reasons for wishing to serve on the LLD Board of Trustees. You may include any relevant experience or skills, private industry, volunteer services, that legal benefit the library district. I like that, but I found, when I was doing some searching, that there was some other libraries that had, when they've done things like this, kind of more specifics. So instead of just saying, if we could add something about like, have you served on a previous board, or, you know, your previous experience with other boards, if you've had any. So, and I made myself a note and I'm trying to see where I put it. Highlighted for myself. Or maybe I was actually thinking about separating them out,
Yeah, that sounds like.
like more separating them out, not adding more to it. So I think if we just had reasons for wanting to serve, and then a separate one saying any relevant experience or skills that would benefit the library district. So have them be 2 separate numbers. So instead of all together under one umbrella, I feel like those should be separated out to help it be more.
So number 3 would still be, please describe your reasons for wishing to serve.
Yes,
And then number 4, the new number 4 would be, please describe any work or any, what did you say?
Experience.
Any relevant
yeah, I think
experience.
that's fine. I mean, I think what it has here, I mean, yeah, it could be, I think it's okay if it's just, yeah, please describe any relevant experience or skills. And then where it says private industry, volunteer, civic experience, whatever,
Okay,
that you would believe.
all right.
And then there was a question on another application that I had seen that said, are there any particular qualifications, experiences, skills, or talents that you would bring to the board? So I wonder if we could actually, the one that we just talked about, number 4, wordsmith it a little bit more to include some of those other things.
Name them again?
So it was qualifications, experiences, skills, or talents you would bring to the board.
Qualifications, skills, or
And then there was, since we're talking about this part right here, there was, when it was actually the North Chicago Public Libraries, but they had this checklist that said, please indicate those areas in which your knowledge would be of benefit to the library board. And they had this checklist of things. And I don't know if that's something that we feel would be important to include, something similar to that or not. But they had finance, legal, public relations, energy conservation, personnel, technology, management, long-range planning, building programs, governmental relations. They're a public library, so they're a little bit different than us, and then other. But if there were things like that we felt like that it would help us, I don't know.
Well, I think the enhanced number 4
Kind of
does
catches
the
that.
same thing. You know, it allows for a little bit more freer way to describe
Right.
what you're asking.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, good. And then the new number 5, please describe your relationship and experiences with the library. Is there anything kind of specific, do we think, that we want, or we want it to lead it anyway, or do we want to just leave it like that? I mean, I guess here's the thing, like, if this is the question, do we have an idea of what we want to hear? Do you know what I mean? Like, are we looking for,
So what I read in this question is, I think the previous board who created this want to know if this candidate uses the library.
Okay.
Basically, like
Right.
what is your, maybe your unique relationship or something about, how you use the library, instead of just asking, do you use the library?
okay.
But I don't know, I think there's probably a better way to ask that question.
Yeah, I mean, on my notes, I just put more detailed and I underlined it twice because I felt like it needed something. I just couldn't think of it myself. So I don't know if everyone else has other ideas.
Would it be a good idea to, it's not vital, but to know how long they have been a member or had a library card? The reason I ask that is when we filled out, when we ran for election, that was a question. And I think it makes a difference to other people that
Well, that's
have
a
been
good
involved. Not that it's a necessity.
Right, because we might get some candidates that have
Maybe
just resided for a year
Yeah.
and now they want to be involved. So I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean,
No, I don't think it should disqualify you. that
Absolutely.
You don't have a card. But
Yep.
I think it's nice for us to know.
and I think that's fine. I think that's an okay thing to
Yeah.
ask.
And again, I think how you experience a library, in what way,
Mm-hmm.
our, children, as a parent, maybe put on a program, maybe whatever.
Right, and if you're someone who comes to a lot of programs here, or if you
Yeah.
are checking out materials, print materials or AV materials, or if you are doing solely digital things or using the databases or, like that kind of stuff.
It doesn't have to be extensive.
No.
But a mention, I think,
Yeah.
would be beneficial for us.
Yep,
So we're here to wordsmith it so we can post after today.
Right.
So do we want to say, please describe how you use the library?
yeah,
That's good.
instead of relationship, I think that's
Right.
better.
And then we've got a new number 6.
Yeah.
And I know that there was a trustee who commented on number 6.
Yeah,
That there was, wanted a better wording. Or what is the goal of number 6?
wait. I just see it as number 5.
Well, it's a new number 6.
Oh, the new number. Okay.
So, if you go to,
Yeah, it was number 6 on page 8.
okay, so trustee question number 6. Consider rewording, clarifying the goal. Or if you want it at all, you want to refer to financial understanding. And I think way back when the objective was to ask about fact that we are a district
Mm-hmm.
versus a
Public.
municipal entity, part of a municipal grouping.
And we would explain what a district is.
Well,
In
this
the
is the question, I think the question was put to the public to see if people vying for the position understood what a district is.
What a library district.
Right? And some may not, and do we think it's important? I mean, do you think it's important to have that as a question? Do you want to talk about something else regarding financials?
I think that if we're asking something about it being a district library, we need to say we are a library, like the Lisle Library District, like something about how it is a library district, not affiliated with
The village.
the village.
Well, I also think it's important, way back when, before I was involved, when I first moved here or became familiar. I did not know that we were our own taxing body.
Mm-hmm,
I think that's really important.
mm-hmm. Well, it's
Because
important.
otherwise you don't understand
Yeah.
where
Yep.
where the funds come from.
You're right.
Exactly, and is it important to ask a candidate that to become a trustee, or is it important to inform someone once they become a trustee? That's the
Oh,
question to
I see
answer.
what you're saying.
So is it going to inform your decision about appointing somebody if they don't know? And that's what I think the previous
I see.
committee was, they thought that was important.
Right.
They thought it was important that whomever you appoint should already know at least the outline of the kind of framework of, property tax,
Right.
levy, and those kind of things. But, that's up to you to decide.
That's a good point. But I do think, well, my opinion, when you do your homework, if you're interested in applying,
Right.
I think those are the kinds of things you would investigate. That's when I really
Well,
found out about it, because I thought it was important to know.
and since you just mentioned that, I actually, you reminded me of something else that I had seen on some of the other applications that I had seen, was they mentioned about like the trustee bylaws or the trustee facts file, and like included links to them on their documents so that people could go and read. They also included information about how many meetings we have a year, and sometimes there's special meetings and there's committee meetings, and the time commitment piece of it. I think, for me personally, I knew there were meetings, but I didn't know, like, I knew there was one a month, but I didn't know, like, okay, it was like, oh, and then there will be some other meetings, but then sometimes there's really a lot of other meetings, and I didn't know that. And so I think that's helpful too, is to someplace put in here about the time commitment. And I know one of the questions that the other trustees sent with us did have something about time commitment, didn't it? Yes, number 9. It says being a trustee requires attendance at monthly meetings and sometimes additional special meetings. Do you feel you have time to make this commitment?
And I think that's a question you ask in interviews too. Remember, we're going to have interviews.
Right.
So there are interview questions as well. I think that's a basic one we can talk about because that's just factual.
Right.
And I think I like your idea of linking to the facts file. We can do that.
Yeah.
Just so people know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing is, what is the role of a library trustee? Because, I remember reading through that after that I had been elected, but it was also when I was starting to look at the whole trustee code of conduct and all of that I wanted to work on. And I read through it, was like, it was really eye-opening to me because I didn't know all that stuff. So I think it is good to have a link on this somewhere that has that website that will point people to that information.
I can do that.
Okay.
But back to number 6.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. Just so, what's your understanding of financial stewardship? I think that could be better worded if we want to go into finances, or do we want to talk about district? You could ask, tell us what your understanding is of, maybe explain your understanding of the library being a separate taxing body or something like that.
I think it's important to say that it is a separate taxing body. But
Well, financial stewardship, unless it's addressed somewhere else, or it's in the interview process. I think the fact that the board, I know that the director and staff prepares the budget, but that is truly an important function. And it doesn't just happen. I mean, we've, in the past, with reducing the levy and making the levy flat, there's a lot you have to know about budgets. So I don't know.
That's a different, that's a totally different layer than
Right.
asking about whether or not where our money comes from
Right.
versus what the board's role is in approving budgets, approving
Right.
levies, approving the
Yeah.
DNA. all of
Exactly.
those things. That's all financial.
And I mean,
stewardship.
it does rest on us. I
Right,
mean, I understand that staff prepares it.
but then we have to make the decision.
We have to make a decision, and that's not always easy.
No,
we found, so.
No, it's not. And I think, we're in a special circumstance right now too, just with the renovation that there have been so many questions about that anyway, right? So,
But again, does that come on the application questionnaire, or does it?
I don't know. I mean,
So think about it this way. You're interviewing for a hire and you want to, this is the first document paper you're going to get in email that kind of talks about, we're asking for a resume.
right,
We're asking for an introductory letter and answers to questions. So I think you want to be a little bit broader in these questions
Okay.
to solicit info
Okay.
from the people.
Okay.
And then in the interview, from those documents, you can dive deeper.
okay,
Okay.
So
That
I
makes
think
sense.
that number 6, whether we go with financial stewardship or district or finances in general, it should be a pretty general
Okay.
question.
I think the words financial stewardship come from that trustee fact file.
they probably do.
Yeah,
I'm
and-
sorry.
but that's,
I didn't hear that.
The financial stewardship phrase
Yes.
comes from the trustee fact file
Oh,
that Emily was
Yeah.
referring.
but that's a very general term too. I mean,
Right.
stewardship means, you're in charge of all the finances
Sure.
and that, it's
Right.
not it's a general question, but I don't think that term is
it's not
user
universal.
friendly.
No.
It's not something everyone understands.
Right.
So coming up with something a little more clear but broad, probably do.
I don't know if we care about this or not on the application, but do we want to ask? Well, we do say include their relevant experience, so that's okay. So we don't need to say if you've previously been elected to some other board. I'm assuming they would include it,
I would
So-
assume so.
so that's fine. There was another question that I'd seen, another one that I liked that asked, in your opinion, what are the most pressing issues at the library and the most important responsibilities of the library board? And I don't know if, I don't know. Sometimes now that I'm looking at these again, like when I was looking at them originally, I was like, oh, I really like that. But now that we're kind of talking more through it, I feel like some of these application ones are more ones that we would want them to just talk about with us in an interview as opposed to writing it out. If that,
Well, it's
I mean,
difficult.
especially because we said, why do you describe your reasons for wishing to serve? So, I mean, I feel like, I don't know.
Well, that's a general question, because, you could imagine someone say, well, I love libraries, I love books, and I used to take my children, or whatever. That's a general one. But if you ask something more related to what's happening now,
Right.
with the renovation, I think that's a good question to ask anyone walking into this, because this is a
Yeah.
big.
You're right, because they're coming in the middle of it,
Yeah.
right?
So I think that's a good question, but do we want to not do the financial question or stewardship question? Do we want to ask about districts?
I think, I mean, honestly, now that we're talking about it some more, I feel like that's something that we could go over with them. I mean, again, because I didn't really understand that other than the fact that I reside in unincorporated Naperville and I'm part of the Lisle Library District. And I didn't know that until we were moving and freaking out about leaving Lisle, and then found out that, oh no, we're moving to a place that's still part of the district. And I was like, wait, what? And then I saw the map and realized, oh, this is larger than just the village. So,
And this is, let's put it this way, if you put on an application tell us about your understanding of the district, someone could just look it up and answer it.
right,
But you can't do that with, how did you learn about the library? Or
Right.
tell me your reasons.
yep, you're right,
Or you can't Google it,
Yep.
you have to tell us
Sure.
why.
yep,
And that's kind of what you want to learn.
right,
Mhm.
So.
that makes sense.
So I'm not sure about that. I'll put the parentheses, we can come back to it
I mean-
regarding financials, but to ask about, what do you think are, you can get specific about the renovation, you can talk about other issues at the library, you can talk about matters.
Well, and maybe just something about we are in, because what's the official title of the,
Capital improvement project.
no, the phase that we're in.
We are moving into the schematic phase of design.
So maybe we can put, we are moving into the schematic phase of the design for our capital improvement project. And then a question about that, like, I don't know, is there something that you can think of that would fit along with that? I mean, because that's where we are right now, and I think it's important to say, okay, we're already here, so it's not like we're stopping it, right? So we're moving forward, so.
That's good. I like that intro. Like the library is moving forward with the schematic phase of the design of the capital improvement project. What are your ...
Yeah, exactly. What are your ... Can that be the question?
No.
Fill in the blank.
What are your goals? What is your vision? What is...
I like vision.
Yeah,
Is thoughts too general?
no,
What are your thoughts?
What are your
Relating
thoughts
to-
about the project?
yeah,
Mhm.
that's perfect.
Okay.
I like that, and I like that better than the understanding of the financial stewardship obligations of the Lisle Library District. I think that fits us better for where we're at this time. Okay, and then if we're looking at the other questions that the trustees sent to us. Oh, the time commitment one,
I'm sorry.
the time commitment one.
Number 2.
So there's 2 of them that had time commitments. There's actually 2 and 9.
But to me, that's an interview question.
Okay. So,
And I put together a sample interview questionnaire for the executive session,
okay,
for everyone. So you all can take turns on asking these questions, because we should ask the same questions to all the candidates. And if there's any specifics in their resumes that you want to address that are unique to that individual, you can ask them about that.
okay.
In their particular.
Yeah.
I have a question now. Because when you said about an interview question, but the time commitment piece, I also feel like it's just kind of we need to put it on here just so that they know. And not necessarily a question for them to answer on the application, but just like
An understanding.
an understanding, things that you need to know. So maybe in addition to the links to the trustee facts file, maybe there's just something that we could put like,
In general, there's a once a month regular meeting.
yeah, just
Hey, there are 3 committees.
just on this document,
Okay.
so that they'll have read it.
The title, things you need to know.
I mean,
No.
Just provide it.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I feel like
That's great.
that's not a question, like,
Mhm.
it's just that's just, it is what it is. There's,
Right.
so are there other things that we think that would be in a need to know kind
Well,
of thing?
We would link to the board page, which does lay it out. I
Okay.
could bullet point the time commitment, the dates
Okay.
of regular meetings and things like that.
Okay,
I think that's enough for
yeah,
that.
Mhm.
no, that's good, because it's like with the role of the trustee, because linking to the trustee fact file, and then our time commitments up, and then the link to the board page. That sounds good.
Okay.
And we do have on here, oh yeah, registered voter resident, okay. Okay,
So in the trustee questions, we have one on financials. That's number 1.
and that's for the interview, we're talking about, right? Are we-
And then number 3 is an interview question.
Are we good with what we've done to this?
I've got 7.
Okay,
questions.
and then you've got the links to the trustee facts file, the links to the board page, and then the information about the
The
time
need to
commitment,
know.
the need to know.
Yeah.
Okay. And then other than that, we're good with this?
Yeah,
Just wanna
unless
make
there's
sure.
other trustee questions that we want to ask.
Okay.
So I think number 3 is definitely an interview question.
Yep.
We won't go, I will leave that for the interview questionnaire. I think we're already doing number 4.
Yep. And again, these are things that they could go in more depth on an interview anyway.
And I think 5 is an interview question.
Yep,
We did 6, we're not doing 6.
right.
And I think we've got number 7,
Yep,
and that's 8 is an interview question.
yep. Ten is definitely an interview question.
Yeah. And then 11 is an interview
Yeah.
question. So, and then you can come up, with things on your own as you read the resumes of a specific person. If they have something super unique, you can address that person in the executive session about
So
that.
do you envision us having, like, how many questions do you envision us having that would be like,
The standard,
yeah, the standard?
I would use these that we were talking about, number 2, number 3, number 5, number 8, number 9, number 10, number 11, as the standard to the core, and I would create a document for all trustees during those executive sessions,
Okay,
unless you want any others.
so then we would have the set questions that everyone gets asked, and then we would have the time to do
Yes.
specific ones, if we
Right.
needed to, like, follow up.
Right. So as far as the schedule goes, back on page 7 of your packet, there, in the section under the policy, it talks about the schedule. And so, just for the public's understanding, in May, President Bartelli mentioned that we do have a vacancy. And so we do that officially, announce it. And then the board authorized this committee to draw up the questionnaire and direct staff to post, and we will do that after today's meeting.
Okay,
So in June, and we're in June now, we would post them on the website, we post them on our social media pages, and then we'd put them around the building as well for users to see.
okay,
And then we would collect the applications. We would give about 2.5 weeks. That's probably a little shorter than we've done before, but it's about 2.5, a little longer than 2.5 weeks, and we would collect them. And then I would propose having a special board meeting in June, and I wrote here on June 23rd, which is a Wednesday. And we'd have, yes,
Possibly this is offline, but I have something I need to attend to.
okay, on that date.
Well, not specifically, I
Okay.
need to find out. what-
Okay. So we can just pencil
Okay.
that in. That's fine.
Okay.
So it's just proposed to have, we could have it another day of the week.
Okay.
If that's an issue. But this is a Wednesday. We have special board meeting to review the applications. Let's say we got 10. And the board could review them all and say 5 of them are worth interviewing, 5 we don't think is necessary to interview. So then we would have that executive session, and then in July, let's say you have 5, we would coordinate with those 5 people to determine a date for another executive session to do interviews. Hopefully on one night, and hopefully there's not 5, maybe there's 3. So we would have an executive, special meeting in July before the next regular board meeting. I just threw out July 7th or 14th, those are Wednesdays too. And then we would make the appointment after the interviews that night in open session.
so then we would ask them to stay while we were,
They don't have to,
okay.
they don't have to, they can do their interviews and then.
Oh, because their oath of office wouldn't be until the next regular
Right.
board meeting. Okay, got it.
They don't have to stay. They can
Okay.
do their interviews and then they leave. And then we go back into open session and there's a consensus opinion. And you come out
Okay.
and you make a motion to appoint XYZ person
Okay,
and XYZ person.
right, because we do.
Yeah,
Okay,
so then at the next regular board meeting in July, we would take the oath of office. People will take the oath of office and then be seated.
okay.
So that's the general process.
So just so for clarification for me, so when you're collecting them, are you gonna send them to us right after you get them, or are you gonna hold them and wait and give them to all of us together at the same time,
I would wait until
the deadline,
and then submit them as a packet.
okay, okay. So we'll have them and we'll have time to review them ourselves before we go to the special board meeting to
Yes.
discuss them.
It would be like a regular board meeting, you have like 5 days.
Oh, okay, okay, perfect. Okay. I'm good with
on
that.
Wednesday.
Okay,
You would make it so we
Okay.
would have a packet, like a regular board meeting, and then have a discussion.
and then as far as these dates go, that's kind of fluid right now as far as when the special meetings will go. So you'll kind of put feelers out to the trustees for when we can go and then also the candidates and everything. Okay,
Well, the candidate, there's 2 special meetings. There's one to have the conversation about who you want
to bring in for
to
interviews.
bring in for interviews. That's one special meeting, and that's the one that President Bartelli said that the 23rd may or may not work. Then we have another special meeting prior to July. It would be in July.
And
We have
that's
one special meeting. in
Interview one.
And that's the interview.
Okay.
Where you make the.
Okay. All right.
Sound good?
I'm okay with that. Marjorie,
Sounds
are
good.
you good?
Okay.
Okay,
So, what I would propose is that I'm gonna take the notes from this meeting, create a new questionnaire for the public, post it on our website, post it on social media, asking, those who are interested to apply. And then we'd start pulling in, as soon as we get it out today, and then we'd have a good 2.5, almost 3 weeks before the deadline.
okay.
Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so we're done with number 4 on our agenda. All right, moving on to number 5, LLD Special Reserve Ordinance draft/update discussion.
Want me to take that?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me just get a sip of water.
I found the color printer interesting here just because they clearly signed in blue pen and it kind of caught me off guard.
Okay, so in your packet, we got the, I'm saying current, but it's from 2016, Special Reserve Ordinance. And a public body, a public library, if you have a special reserve fund, you must have an ordinance to inform the public about why the public body is saving funds in this fund. So it references the ability to use funds for emergencies, as well as it tells the public you have these plans for expenditures. And so back in 2016, we were still in discussion about facility. We had a facility steering committee back then. We had a lot of things going on about the parking lot. And so it was important to update the special reserve ordinance to lay out how we may use those funds. Now, because we never had a concrete plan, it is laid out very generally here. On page 10, it's got building repair, remodeling, parking, and this is all very well and fine. And according to our attorney, you can lay these things out very, very generally. And the real, I guess the important number is the bottom line number. So 5.6 was the previous amount, and that's the amount you can save up to. Okay? So, because we have a new, because we have,
I didn't touch it.
oh,
She lost her connection.
I lost the connection.
We see you.
we see you.
You do?
Yeah,
Well, then I'm good with that. I don't need to see myself.
we can see you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
So you're fine.
I didn't touch anything, I promise.
No,
I'm
these-
sorry, Touch.
That's fine. So special reserve ordinances, you can update them any time of the year and multiple times through the year if necessary.
Okay.
And updating it now is important because the board just approved of the $7.7 million budget. And so if you can take a look at the one I've created, it lays it out just a little differently, but it does indicate. So we've got the capital improvement project on page 13. And then it includes construction, professional services, fixtures, furniture, and equipment, that FF&E, contingencies. And then it does say that we approved the plan as of the May 19th board meeting, and that's the 7.7 million. I also included a $2 million note for campus enhancement. And this is because we've, yes, laid out 7.7 million of expenditures in special reserve, but we will also have there'll be reserves after spending, and we may not spend the whole 7.7, we may have a little left, but we also want to keep a special reserve fund, and we have to tell the public why we would continue to keep a special reserve fund. So I named this campus enhancements, we can call it something else, but laid out what we could use it for. Construction, fixtures, equipment, professional services, and contingencies. Now, this could be campus enhancements for the vacant lots we own. It could be for, a new roof way down the line. So
And you also mentioned
outdoor programming space. And I put a $2 million placeholder there because, as I mentioned, eventually it'll be a $7.7 million project. There might be some left, but if we were saving for something else, like an outdoor programming space or using one of the vacant lots, I put a $2 million placeholder there. Now, that can change. Again, the board could up it or lower it, maybe, a year down the line, 2 years down the line. Again, we can adjust this as we see fit, but we should have something in here for the 7.7 and a little supplemental note for other things. And then we also included emergency repairs as required. And that's in the actual ordinance, but it wasn't in the original kind of layout of expenditures, but I like having it in here because it does tell the public we may use funds for emergency purposes. So I don't know if you want to change the language or are you okay with that, or you can change the sum to a different sum.
So the total sum is just, it's not just, to refresh my memories, it's not saying that we're gonna be spending all of this, it's just possibly,
Yeah, it's
like what we're saving money for.
It's what we are
potentially.
saving money for, and right now, because our last ordinance was in 2016, we did not have a plan out there. We
Okay,
do have a plan for 7.7, so I included the full 7.7 in there, knowing that there will probably still be reserves.
okay,
So it is telling the public we are intending to spend 7.7,
Okay.
Roundly, and we are also continuing a special reserve fund because eventually we will have another project. And this $2 million placeholder is there. After our $7.7 million project is over, we can then revise this to a different number. It can say, it could be a $2 million total number. It could be a $1.5 million total, or it could be a $5 million total number.
So there's no time frame on this. This was open-ended.
It's open-ended, it is, but it's important to tell the public how you're using funds in special reserve. That's the point of
Okay.
this. So,
okay. I'm okay with the way that you've explained it. It makes sense to me that, what we're potentially saving for, like,
yeah, and we can lower the campus enhancements to 1 million right now, if that's more digestible, I don't know, I mean, it's.
well, we're not saying we're taking this money and spending it, it's just a plan.
Basically, what this is saying, you can save up to this amount in your special reserve. Let's say we don't finish our capital improvement project in the year and a half that we're planning. Let's say it's, for some reason, it's gonna take us 5 years to finish it. This is saying we can save up to 9.7 million until you change the ordinance.
Okay,
So it's really,
Is there a way to explain what you just said? If someone saw this document by itself, and I'm referring to people who don't necessarily agree with our plans, on first glance, I think the 9.7, it's just, if you're not familiar with the
Right.
intricacies of this,
right,
I don't know if there's just a general explanation to explain the $2 million figure And the fact that what you just explained, it's reserves after spending, keep it in special reserves.
Well,
And
what,
we need to tell residents why we're, so are you saying this tells residents why we're keeping it in special reserve? But does it really by looking at this?
not that page, but the
Okay.
ordinance
The
itself.
ordinance, okay.
It does explain, but it's
That's what I
legalese.
meant.
This one you're saying, this
Okay,
one? this
but if
special-
that covers it, then.
It covers it because it does talk about, it says this, it says, you know, whereas money in the special reserve fund is limited in use as provided by the act. Except expenditures for emergency repairs and cost estimates are required for any monies that are going to be used from this fund. And it may be amended as circumstances may require. So it really talks about, it is for, you know, maintaining, equipping, and providing library materials, services, technology, land use. All of those things are laid out here. Again, it's in a legalese type of
Okay.
way. It's per our attorney. This is the general ordinance you have to have that talks about why you are keeping funds and how you plan to expend those. So,
And I have a general question, it's probably way off base. Can you explain to me, are professional services included because they relate to the capital improvement? Or because we have a budget line item, well, I know it for legal fees, but don't we have a budget line item for professional services?
yeah, professional services includes everybody, architects,
Okay.
engineers, legal, everything.
So for any project? I mean, guess I'm not making myself clear, but professional services could
You're
be
talking about like any kind of
any
consultant?
kind of, but these only relate to a capital improvement project for the special reserve fund expenditures,
For the 7.7.
for the 7.7.
And then there's
Okay.
another line for campus enhancements that could include construction, fixtures, equipment, professional services, and contingencies in that line. So any capital project, and that's generally what you're spending out of special reserve, it's for a larger project, it would include construction, professional services, fixtures, and contingencies. You're
Is
kind
that-
of listing out. You don't have to do them independently. You don't have to say professional services would be $1 million and construction would be, you know,
Like that
Other
three one,
$1
the ones before, the previous one?
right.
I'm sorry.
Like the previous one had it more,
Very generally laid out. And that's an up to number, you know, you could say up to that.
Would professional services include technology?
If you had a consultant on technology, yeah.
Because, I mean, we have talked about technology and the requirements for the new project.
Yeah, it's just a general term to talk about who you would outsource, hire, or have a consultant come in to address. It really lays out construction as the kind of the nuts and bolts. And then professional services is who you hire, the architects, the consultants to come in to help you with your project. Fixtures is how you know, adorn and what you do in your building. And then contingencies, you know, beyond that.
I'm okay. I think as long as you explain it the same kind of way at the board meeting,
I'll be more concise, but yes, I'll try to be more
just
clear.
to clear that up. Okay, Roger, are you
Yes,
good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
The next item is director evaluation discussion, but I need to take a brief pause.
Sure.
I will be back.
Okay,
And I know that we're just the few of us, so.
Okay. A brief recess.
A brief recess.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're still recording.
Thank you.
We don't have anybody online, but you're still.
Excuse my sight. Yeah.
It's crazy. Hi, sorry. This will get edited out, right?
Sure.
Okay. All right, moving on. Item number 6, director evaluation discussion. So we talked about this at our last meeting in March. We talked about the timeline, and then we just kind of stopped there. I think it was the end of the meeting where we had all those other policies to go through, and so we said, okay, we'll talk about it at a later date. And I did talk about this with the director before too, that, you know, we had these grand plans pre-COVID about what we were going to do and how we were going to work on this. And then COVID hit and it kind of went by the wayside. And so really what we need to do is figure out what to have the director do, because we have to complete her evaluation this month. And so we need to figure it out. I have my notes from previous committee meetings, but then also board meetings where we talked about goals. We talked about, you know, things that we had done in the past. And I feel like at this point, especially because the evaluation that we did for last year was done so late, that we just kind of need to get through it this year, this month, and then we can work on that official plan that we really wanted to do. As far as that goes, you know, we did talk about, you know, that we wanted to set goals. We wanted to have some board directed goals and some director directed goals, self goals, I guess, or personal goals. And we talked about how we, you know, tied evaluation into what the director did in line with the strategic plan and all of that. And I don't know how the rest of the board feels, or how you feel, President Bartelli, about just kind of doing the same thing that the director did for us at our last evaluation, which was in
September, maybe?
September, I can look, I have it right here. Yeah, September, where she gave us the information with the strategic plan and what she accomplished and all of that through that. Because we're only October, November, December,
I
January.
have that here, yeah.
Yeah, we're only, you know,
14.
yeah, it's only 8.5 months later, and so it's not a full year. And because things have been so fluid with COVID and what's going on with opening the library and all the changes and all of that. And that if we could just maintain what she did for us in September, and then after that, we can have another meeting and we can talk about, okay, this is what we want it to look like, this is how we want to lay out, this is the goals we want to set for this next year, what goals does she have for herself for this year, kind of set it up that way after we get through this. Just the time, I feel like the timing just, it just goes so fast, and we've had all these other things going on. It's fallen by the wayside, which I apologize, Director Weinstein, that is fallen by the wayside, because that was not my original intent when I said I wanted to work on this, and then, you know, things happened. So I don't know how you feel about it, President Martelli, as far as just because we have to do it in the next, you know, couple of weeks,
You could do it,
right? Unless we did a special meeting.
you could do it in executive session at the June board meeting, or you could have a special meeting.
Because it has to happen in June, because it has to be done before July 1st. So we have a time constraint.
So we are saying that we will follow the same process that we did
That we just did,
and get it in within the deadline for this
yes,
year.
for this fiscal year.
Would we then, after that, the committee begin to work on format?
That's what I would like to do.
Okay, I'm just trying
Yes.
to understand.
And as long as I'm still chair of the committee, yes, that's what I would like, that's what I would like to do. I know that's something that's gonna come up with you too, as president, is assigning committee assignments. So, but yes, that is what I would like to do.
So would we use Director Weinstein's format from the snapshot?
Yes.
And then self-directed goals?
Yes, from what she did in September, that same
Okay.
format.
I'm good with that.
Okay,
That's great.
okay. Are you good with that, Director Weinstein? And then we can move forward after that.
Okay.
I just feel like we've had so much, I mean, it's just been so crazy.
No,
And then I feel like I'm making an excuse, but at the same time, it's like, you know, life kind of,
There's no excuse, I mean, not needed, but I think we need to do it right, and rather than
Yep.
rush something, yeah, to me,
Okay.
it just makes more sense.
Okay.
Which is,
okay, good, thank you. Because then we can do a fresh start after that and kind of, okay, this is what we're gonna do and really work on it.
right,
Okay,
great. And this will give, however the committee members pan out.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Yep.
Give people an opportunity to.
Yep.
Participate
Yep.
in this.
absolutely,
Great.
absolutely. Okay, good, thank you. Director Weinstein, are you good with that then? So you know what you're doing?
I do.
Perfect.
It's always nice to know what you're.
Okay, all right, well, then there's nothing else on the agenda. So I lost my agenda.
We'll announce at our next board meeting.
Yes, well, unless we have her do it before then, in which case we do a special, if we do an executive session at the board meeting in
I think
June
that's a great idea.
to do it. So I don't know if that's enough.
Can you prepare it by then, or?
For the next board meeting?
Okay,
Okay,
so if there's enough time,
sure.
you know, for her to prepare it for the next board meeting, then it could be executive session at the June board meeting.
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah, you can do that, okay. All right,
great.
so then we're good? Okay. There's,
So just before you
Yes.
adjourn,
I will not adjourn until you're done with asking.
no, it's just, I just want to make it clear that we will be moving forward with the posting of the candidate information on the website today.
Yes.
Hopefully by the end of the day today. And we'll be having some posts on social media as well as on our website to alert people to the opportunity.
Yes.
Okay.
And you know what? I was gonna tell you this too. The Park District had a opening, and I got the email, and the email blast that the Park District periodically sends out. It did say that they were taking applications as well. So I think we probably should do one of our
E-blast.
e-blasters as well, because, you know, we want to put it out as much as we can.
Yeah.
And as I said, I mean, I saw it for the Park District, I saw it on social media, I got the e-blast, you know, it's on their website, so
Okay.
I think we need to do the same thing.
Got it.
And so it'll be on social media, meaning Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
E-blast.
E-blast.
On the website.
website.
Yeah, and the e-blast may or may not happen today.
That's okay.
It may happen tomorrow.
That's fine.
We'll
And then
get the other stuff out.
Post it around the building, and when you said post around the building, you mean like up, but then also like have some of them there in the bathroom stalls and like that kind of stuff too, and then just around the building?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay.
Now you can issue.
Was there anything else? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn the Personnel Policy Committee meeting of June 1st, 2021.
I second. Any discussion? Do we have to do a roll call?
Just a voice.
Okay.
Motion.
All right, oh, that's right, roll call, please.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Emily Swistek.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 11:53 a.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.